we are going to have a paper from a great yoga shastrajna, yoga scientist, directly coming from the Krishnamacharya Yoga Sansthanam, and a PhD in Shastras. He is responsible for the great popularity of Tantra Yuktis now as Indic research methodology, and every time he comes up with revolutionary proposals. This time the interesting proposal he is coming up with is, usually we particularly from the Indological side, we always see that Puranas have taken from the Shastras, but this time Professor Jayaraman is arguing that the Puranas have contributed to Yoga Shastra. Over to you.
Namaste, Professor Nagaraj. I'll start with the Mangala Shloka. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi. Namaste. At the outset, I thank Indic Academy for the opportunity to present this paper. I hope you can see my screen and hear my voice clearly. So the title of my paper is Indebtedness of Yoga Shastra to the Puranas. Can you hear me clearly? And is my screen visible?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the title is Indebtedness of Yoga Shastra to Puranas. As it has been stated in the prospectus of this seminar, that Puranas are encyclopedic in nature and hence have contributed to many disciplines of knowledge. So taking cue from that, I also, when I revisited the commentaries of Yoga Sutra, then I understood that Yoga Shastra has also been immensely benefited by Puranas. So I have attempted to establish, so as so many systems of knowledge have been benefited by Puranas, similarly Yoga Shastra has also been benefited. That's what my survey or study of the Yoga Sutra commentaries revealed, and that's what I have presented in my full paper that I have written and submitted to the conference organizers. So my analysis of this topic is based on my study of the classical Yoga Sutra commentaries, Samskrita Yoga Sutra commentaries. There is a long tradition of unbroken Samskrita commentaries in Samskrita right from the period of sage Patanjali, 3rd, 4th century till 18th, 19th, 20th century. So, but I focused on just two commentaries of Yoga Sutra, Tattva Vaisharadi of Vachaspati Mishra and Yoga Vartika of Vijnana Bhikshu. Even in those two, just two commentaries among 20 odd Samskrita commentaries available on Yoga Sutra, 60 to 70 instances of utilization of Puranas for various interpretative purposes to elucidate various dimensions of yoga we could see. And all those concepts, all those 60, 70 references have been compiled, analyzed, and has been discussed in detail in my paper. But as the duration of presentation is limited, so I would just take three aspects, three dimensions of Yoga Shastra, which have been immensely benefited by these Puranic references or the Puranic thoughts and Puranic ideas. So the first one is the conceptual or the philosophical dimension. So philosophical dimension of Yoga Sutra, they have been again, they've been helped a lot by the Puranic references. So that first dimension, for that first dimension, I give an example from the Tattva Vaisharadi commentary on the Yoga Sutra. We know, everyone knows that yoga is very popular, and in yoga what is central is the chitta, because the very definition of yoga is based on chitta only. Chitta vritti nirodha. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. So, and the pancha vrittis, the pancha klesha, samskaras, vasanas. So, entire yoga shastra, especially from yoga sutras, they revolve around the concept of chitta. In Sutra 4.10, Tasam anaditvan chashisho nityatvat. There, Yoga Vyasa, the primary commentator, and Vachaspati Mishra of Tattva-Vaisharadi, they discuss about the dimension of chitta. What is the dimension of the chitta? What is the parimana of the chitta? And the stated view or the conclusion or the siddhanta of Yoga Shastra in regard to that sutra on the concept of chitta, on the size of the chitta is vibhu parimana. Chitta is omnipresent. This idea itself is not much known in the yoga circles. So the study of yoga, where it is worldwide, it is popular globally. But this idea that the chitta is vibhu, this and it has a lot of very practical implications, because all our chittas are vibhu, and we are always interconnected, but the fact that we don't know that all our chittas are connected, interconnected always, and there are many more implications that are possible to derive from the idea that chitta is vibhu. There is a methodology in Shastra that is of the Purvapaksha and Siddhanta. So to establish something firmly, the Shastrakaras themselves raise objection, and then they clear that objection so that no doubt remains regarding this concept. So when the Shastrakaras say, when the commentators say that chitta is vibhu, then the Shastrakaras themselves raise a Purvapaksha based on a Puranic quotation. So in Vachaspati Mishra, he himself raises a objection, and then he responds to that, and to maintain that chitta is vibhu only, omnipresent only. So the Puranic quotation is like this: Angushtamatram purusham nishchakarsha yamo balat. See, the objector says that see, you say that chitta is vibhu, chitta is all pervasive, but Purana, which is accepted by you as an authentic source of knowledge, it says the Purusha has been drawn. During the death of a person, Yama comes and then draws the Purusha, who is of the size of the thumb, from the body. So the Purusha, according to the Purvapakshi, is Jivatma. If Jivatma is of the size of Angushta, then Chitta, which is connected to this Jivatma, how can it be Vibhu Parimana? So, so this objection is based on this Puranic quotation. And how to understand this Puranic quotation, that is also clarified to establish again, to reiterate that Chitta is Vibhu only. So how do the commentators develop this? How do they sustain that Chitta is Vibhu only, or Chitta is omnipresent only? They say, how to understand this Puranic sentence? They say, which Vachaspati Mishra says, Agamastu Purushasya Nishkarshamaha. So what does this Puranic quotation say? Purushasya Nishkarsha. Purusha is drawn out. So, Nacha Chittam va Sukshma Shariram va Purushaha. What is the meaning of Purusha? Purusha does not mean Chitta, and Purusha also does not mean Sukshma Sharira. It is very well known in Sankhya Yoga philosophical parlance that Purusha is neither Chitta nor the Sukshma Sharira. Then what is Purusha? Kintu Chiti Shaktihi Aprati Sankrama. Purusha is pure consciousness. Chiti Shaktihi and Aprati Sankrama. Purusha is without modification. So Aprati Sankrama. So Nachasya Nishkarshaha Sambhavati. So drawing out of such a Purusha is not possible, because Purusha is pure consciousness and he does not undergo any modification. Then what to do? Nishkarshaha Aupacharikaha Vyakheyaha. So the drawing out of Purusha cannot be explained in the primary meaning as we see. It has to be given a Aupacharika Vyakhya. That is a secondary meaning we have to adopt. Then what is the secondary meaning? Tathacha Chitehe Chittasya cha tatra vritya bhavaha eva nishkarshartha. Then the absence of manifestation of the Purusha and also the dependent Chitta, that is what is to be understood as Nishkarsha, and not the drawing out of Purusha or the Chitta itself. Both the Chitta and the Purusha are Vibhu, so their presence is manifest or not manifest, or it is perceptible or not perceptible. Only that much is the meaning of Nishkarsha, and not the physical drawing out of the Jivatma or the or the chitta is to be understood. Thereby, the view that the chitta and also the purusha are, that is clarified. So both of them are omnipresent. So there is no doubt about this. So hence we can see that on the parimana of chitta, which is very central to Yoga Sutra, it is based on this Puranic quotation that the discussion goes on, and then the clarity is established. Thus, this is the first point of indebtedness of yoga towards Purana. And one more interesting idea about the Puranas that we can understand from this quotation is that when a lay person looks at this quotation, oh, at the time of death, the Yama will come and then draw out the Jivatma. So he is satisfied. He might be satisfied by looking at that interpretation, and he will be convinced. But whereas the Purana does not say that the Jivatma is drawn out, it drops a hint for a scholar. It drops a hint for the wise person who is learned by using the term Purusha and not Chitta or Sukshma Sharira. So when a scholar looks at it, so as Vachaspati Mishra has looked at it and understood that Purusha cannot be drawn out, so it is just the manifestation or the state of unmanifestation of the Chitta and the Chaitanya. That is what is death or transmigration. So in this way, Purana, though apparently for a layperson it can mean something, but for scholars, the Puranic, those who have composed this Purana have given or left enough clues to see deeper and higher and greater dimensions of philosophical truths to be discovered. So this shows the multiple layers in Puranas that we can see. So this is the first example that I wanted to present, where Yoga Shastra has been benefited by this conceptual clarity derived from the Puranic quotation. Now, this is on the philosophical side, even from the point of view of understanding the meaning of certain words. So there also, Yoga Sutra is, even in the language dimension, Yoga Sutra has been benefited by Puranas. So the very first word of Yoga Shastra is Atha. Atha, yes?
Can we go briefly about the next 2 points so that we can...
Yeah, I will just sum up in just, yeah. So even in the second, I'll just be presenting only 2 points and then I will wrap up. I will ensure that it will be finished within the stipulated 15 minutes. The second example is, even from the point of view of language, we see there are so many meanings given to the word Atha. Atha is in certain commentaries is Arambha, in certain commentaries it is Mangala, and in certain commentaries Anantara, after. But the accepted meaning is Adhikara, where here also, to establish the meaning of Adhikara, Shruti Smriti Itihasa Puraneshu Prasiddham. So this Adhikara, that is the knowledge of yoga, is Adhikrita or Pramanika. So that idea is further established by this second quotation, or in the second occasion. So to fix the meaning of the term Atha, that is Adhikarartha, the Puranic reference or the allusion to the Puranic class of literature we can see from the Tattva Vaisharadi commentary. Okay, I just move to the third and last example that I want to present. When we speak of yoga, people will not be convinced about the indebtedness of yoga to Purana if we do not touch upon a practical dimension of yoga. They will say, oh, what is the practical? Let all these philosophical clarity, linguistic inputs, all this remain. Does the Puranas contribute to some practical clarity in yoga practice? So in the context of yoga, that is the last and final point that I would want to present. So we see in determining the sequence of practice of components of pranayama, the Puranic reference or the Puranas have been taken recourse to by the Yoga Vyakhyanakaras. For example, in Yoga Vartika, there is a particular description about pranayama. So I'll just take a couple of minutes to explain this. This is very critical. So Sutra 2.50 is about Bhahyabhyantara Stambhavrittihi Deshakala Sankhya Paridrishtaha Dirgha Sukshmaha. So what should pranayama lead to, or what should be the outcome of pranayama? Pranayama should ensure, by the practice of the techniques of pranayama, it should ensure that the prana becomes dirgha and sukshma. Prana becomes long and subtle. So only when the prana or the especially the breathing component becomes long and subtle, what happens? Chalevate chalam chittam nischale nischalam bhavet. So when the prana is long and subtle, the mind also settles down for higher meditative purposes. And even for our worldly overcoming of stress, etc., the prana has to settle down. So in that context, making the prana dirgha and sukshma, the Sutrakara in Yoga Sutra, he says, what should be the technique to be followed to attain dirgha sukshma state? Sutrakara says, Bahya, Abhyantara, Stambha. That is the sequence he presents. That is, exhale, Bahya, Abhyantara, then inhale, and then Stambha. Hold the breath within. So this is the sequence that the Sutrakara presents. But what does Yogavartika based on the Vyasa's commentary? So what do the commentators present with the strength of the Purana? They say, Sautraha Patakramaha Anusthane na adartavyaha. This sequence of exhale, inhale, hold that has been presented in Sutra should not be followed in practice. Why? Tathacha Puraka Kumbhaka Rechakaha Ityautsargikaha Anusthana Kramaha. So what is the general sequence of or very well understood sequence of practice? Outsargika krama is inhale Puraka, hold Kumbhaka, and exhale Rechaka. So this is the Anusthana Kramaha. Puraneshu, this is to be underlined. Puraneshu Bahulyena Darshanacha. So in so many Puranas, this is the krama of, or this is the technique of pranayama that has to be practiced, or this is the sequence in pranayama that has to be practiced. That is, inhale, hold, and exhale. Only by following this technique, which is substantiated, supported by the Puranas, that the prana will become dirgha and sukshma. So thus we see that be it the philosophical clarity on the concept of chitta, the dimension of chitta, and the meaning of, in the language dimension, clarification on the meaning of the term atha, linguistic dimension, which in the context of yoga, and also in the practical dimension of the very critical component of yoga, that is pranayama, Puranas have been taken recourse to. So to conclude my talk, I would just present a verse from Vyasa's commentary, where Vyasa says, Agamena anumanena dhyanabhyasa rasena cha tridha prakalpayan prajnam labhate yogamuttamam. So what does he say? Everyone, most of us, we practice yoga. We are in the yoga state. So how to move to the state of uttama yoga? Yogam uttamam. How does our yoga become uttama? With three components: agama, anumana, and abhyasa. So these are the three components which makes a normal yoga a uttama yoga. So based on this discussion, we can see that so in our current context, yoga abhyasa component is strong and popular. The other two components, that is anumana and agama, have to be strengthened. The study of yoga shastra, yoga sutras have to be more authentic, and the authenticity comes from the study of the commentary literature of Yoga Sutra. And as we can see from this exposition, that the commentary literature, the superstructure of Yoga Sutra commentary literature itself stands on the cornerstone of the Puranas. Hence, my plea at the end of this presentation is to make the engagement with the yoga, which is popular globally, more authentic, as Indic Academy would put, more authentic, more immersive, and more transformative. So this agama dimension, which is of yoga, which is very firmly based on Purana, should be promoted. The study of Yoga Shastra with the help of the commentaries, that has to be promoted. So this is my humble plea, submission through this paper, and I conclude my talk here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. This was really, really eye-opening, particularly from the point of view of Indological research. People generally, there are two sources from where they draw the yoga ideas. One is the Buddhist sources, or else they would either put that into yoga contributing to Puranas rather the other way around. So this was really eye-opening.